Here's my 2013 Skoda Octavia Mark III. Unfortunately, the window regulator cable has snapped, and so the window won't stay up, the glass will fall down. I've already taken this apart, but I'll show you the steps needed to safely disassemble everything. So first of all, you need to remove the window switches. So you have to get in and lever them under the edge. You can see it's got these clips on the sides, and that's what you've got to get disengaged from here for it to come out, and then you can just disconnect the connector. It's quite tricky to get this out, and you need to be careful not to damage the edge. You then need to pull this off, and it's just a case of pulling it and then it comes out. There are 3 metal clips, and it just pulls straight off in this direction. That's not too difficult. Then you've got 2 Torx screws. The Torx screws, I think possibly a TX30s, and you need a long reach tool, particularly to get into the one back here. Then there's another one up behind the mirror control. You need to be careful when you put this screw back in, because the angle of the screwdriver, there's a risk that you'll cross thread the screw, so be very careful. Those are the only 2 screws that hold the whole assembly on. There are then a series of clips around the edge, but there's one special clip at the bottom you can feel in the middle, and you need to rotate it to loosen it. Okay, it's got a locating set of pins on it, and you need to turn it so that this can slide over the outside. I saw online that you can use release tools. I find these clips often break, and in fact I broke one. You can buy a pack of 5 of them on eBay for about £5, so they're not that expensive. But what I did is I just put my fingers in and just pulled it away all the way round, and then it will come off, and then you're going to lift it up so it comes off at this edge, and then you've just got to release the door catch. And then that's the trim out the way. Now to release the door release mechanism, you need to just bend this top bit away. There are 2 pins which latch into the back of the door, so you just pull it and then it slides out, and then you need to bend it right round, and then this lifts out of the lever mechanism. Okay. Now there's various electrical connectors which you can take off. I've already removed some of these, and then there's a clip to release, and then you pull these clips out and then squeeze down. And then they're all removed. It's helpful to remove those out of the way as well. This is the one that I was telling you about that you need to rotate. You can see it's only made of plastic, but it's got a hex on it. It's probably about 10 millimeters. So you just need to rotate that so that it's vertical, and then it'll pull off. And then these are where the other retaining clips hold the trim in place. Now the next thing you need to remove is this panel here, and it's just a case of getting your fingers in and getting it started. I've already removed this so I didn't push it all the way back in. and then this will slide through the hole. It had a grommet in, but I've released that. And then that just comes off. You need to remove the motor. I think that's perhaps a TX27. It's slightly smaller than the other one. And that's the motor removed. Obviously I'd already removed the electrical connections from this previously. Okay, now you've got two guides which hold the glass up. You probably ought to put some tape up on the glass to stop the glass from sliding down once you release it. You need to lift these two flaps here, and you'll see there are two 10mm nuts inside. Don't remove the nuts because they'll fall down into this channel. All you need to do is to slacken them. You need to remove the two from the bottom completely, and then the ones at the top, when the bottoms come out, they will just slide down and the nuts will be retained. Okay, this mechanism here where the motor engages, that needs to be released, and there are some small plastic clips which you just need to press down with a screwdriver to squeeze them in, or a pair of pliers, and then that pushes back. And then with the guides released, that will then allow you to bring the mechanism to this opening, and you can bring it out. And then my plan is because I couldn't find a replacement, I'm going to replace the cable separately, and I'll show a video of me doing that. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to wind the window down so that I can tape it. You need to wind the window down so that the plastic catches are in these holes here, because you need to be able to release the two catches from the guides to allow the glass to be moved away from these. There is a grommet. This grommet does actually sit in here, so that needs to come out. So let's bring the glass down. And then I can see through here where the plastic engages. There are two holes in the glass, and what you need to do is to push them with a screwdriver to release them. So let me just tape the glass. So to release these, what I did is I pushed in against the clip, and then I just levered it up, levered the glass gently up, and then did the same in here. So push it in, go in behind, and just gently lever the glass upwards. Obviously you don't want to break the glass. It takes quite a lot of force to push the clip back in, and then you'll see the glass just start to lift out. I've already done this, so the glass is actually free from here. Remember not to remove these top nuts, just slacken them. And then release the catches on the motor mechanism. You can see I've already taken out the broken piece of cable. It looks like the wire rope is just a plated steel and it corrodes. You can see this one's corroding here. The other one had corroded to the point where it had actually snapped. So what I'm planning to do is I've bought some stainless steel wire rope and some aluminium ferrules, and I'm just going to measure it up, make it up and crimp them on, and that should at least provide a permanent fix, because there's nothing wrong with the plastic parts, they're all fine. And there we go, that's the mechanism removed. You can see there's the broken end, you can see it's all corroded and it's just snapped. So here's the mechanism out on the bench. I've partially reassembled it. So this was where the wire had snapped, this section here. So that was passing through there, and you can see where it's parted company. So this fits in here. You've got the spring which absorbs the tension and the movement, and that fits in there. So the motor drives here. So the inner side of the door fits this side. So my plan is, because I think it's one continuous piece of wire, and it's got these crimped ends. There's two ends in here, and then there's two which engage with the sliders which go up and down. So what I've done is I've bought 3 meters of stainless steel wire rope, and I've bought some aluminium ferrules. So this is 1.5 millimeters diameter. This was about £3 for 3 meters. These were a similar price for these aluminium ferrules that take a 1.5 millimeter cable. And then it just so happens I've got a pair of electrical connector crimping tools, and they have this shape at the end which just perfectly fits and allow me to crimp the ends down, and then this should fit inside and hold it in place. So I think that's going to work nicely. So all I need to do is to disassemble it, work out the distance between the ends and where the ferrules are crimped behind here, and route it through as I go. So I'll have to disassemble it to do all of that. And measure it up. These just unclip, and you can see it's just hooked in onto the wire there. So obviously the distance from there to there is a critical distance, and again I would imagine the distance from that one down to the one behind there is also critical, but I'll have to feed it through this central section and then put these on at the end. Okay, so that's it all in pieces. I just now need to measure the distance to the crimps here, and then slide it out through, put the new cable in, crimp it on, pass it through, and then it's ready for reassembly. So I've now fed the cable, the new cable through, and I've crimped on the ends using my electrical terminal crimp tool. Seems to work okay. A couple of things that I found. The piece which fits into the back of these, where you have to crimp ferrule in, the ones that I had were too small, so I cut a bit of the old ones that were crimped on the cable, the old cable, off, and used them like washers to pack it out, and then fed it through, measuring the distances as I went. And then I was concerned about the overall length, so I sort of experimented to a certain degree, and I think what I've worked out is that with the springs on, the nylon piece that goes in the middle, where I've got them at the moment flush with the this inner piece of the black plastic moulding, really you want them to go in about another 10 millimeters, and then the spring has got a reasonable amount of compression on it. So to that end, I sort of wrapped the cable around the drum, and you can see that's where it would end now. So I've said I need another 10 millimeters of that nylon piece in here, and another 10 millimeters of that nylon piece in there. So that's moving it back effectively by 20 millimeters. So you can see that it won't quite reach that by a length of about 20 millimeters. So what I'm going to do now is unwind it, and then, well, I'll cut the excess off and then hook it in, and then I know this length will be about right with the tension in it. Now, one small problem that I think I'm going to have is you can simulate the motor being in place using pair of pliers to turn this, and then the sliders will go up and down. But if I slide it all the way up, then I notice this one, the one at the rear of the door, bottoms out just before this one. This one's just got a smidgen more in it. It'll go a little bit further. So I don't really know how successful this is going to be, whether I'm going to end up with the glass not going up. That said, the more I've sort of exercised it, it doesn't seem quite so bad, but I think it's important that these outer sheaths are fully seated home, and I think if you make sure all of those are in, then you find that, if I wind it down a bit and then back up, so that one's topped out now, and that one's got about another maybe 5 millimeters. So given that I've crimped the pieces on the back here on the cable, there's not much I can do about that. So what I can do is I can adjust the tension of that. I can probably pull it out the back and pack it out with something, put another piece inside there just to slide it down a bit further, because there's no adjustment on these sliders, unfortunately. They are where they end up. So I'll give that a go, and I'll report anything that I find as a result of doing that. So now I'm ready to reinstall the mechanism. It's all together. I've shortened the cable down, clamped the ferrule in, crimped it in, and now I've got a nice amount of tension in the springs. So I'm just going to reinsert it now. There's a small nylon clip on the yellow sheath which just clips there, holds that cable out the way. And then the motor mechanism push the 3 clips in. I already rotated this so that I can see where the glass goes in. So I'm going to put the motor in so that it can't turn. There's 3 foam washers as well that go on. You have to sort of rock the motor backwards and forwards to align the splines on the motor drive into the mechanism. So I think I'm just going to run the motor before I connect the glass back in, because that was quite tricky to get out, and obviously there's a risk of breaking it. So I've got the window switch controller, and that one is this one here. No, it's not. It's this one here, I think. Nope. Wrong. There we go. This is it. There we go. Okay, so that's the window mechanism in. Just need the keys. So the glass is all fully fitted. And it seems to work correctly. The only thing I've noticed when the window's coming down, there is a small amount of slack in the cable that goes from the slider up around the pulley. So maybe where I positioned those nylon pieces on the motor mechanism with 10 millimeters of compression, maybe they needed a bit more. But it's fixed, and it's stainless steel wire, so it should last, it won't corrode. And the total cost for the parts was around about £6. So all in all, not too bad. All I'll do now is reassemble this. It's the reverse of the procedure to take it off, and then it'll be done. Okay, so when you're reassembling the inner door trim, don't forget to feed through the wire for the mirror mechanism and also the wire for the window control. Because once you've clipped this in, you won't be able to reach these. Okay, so make sure they're through first. And then you start with the clips at the top, and then you work your way around to the middle, and then you need a 10mm to tighten the plastic nut at the bottom. it's too tight to put the screws in with the connector on, and I forgot that you've got to put the screw in first before pushing this down. So I'm going to have to take that out and then put the screw in. Okay, I'll take this off camera and do the screw because it's quite tricky to get off. So that'll take me a while, and then I'll just put the trim back in and then everything's done. So I hope that helps if you've got the same problem with your Octavia.